What's up, guys? So we're seeing a lot of things, and we don't know if it's illusion or real. And this is a weird thing because with like WWF, WWE, wrestling, professional wrestling, stuff like that, we know it's very physical, but it's not real. Like the plots, the storylines, they're not real. You know, it's kind of like when we were kids and believed in Santa Claus. Up to a certain point, we realized, wait a minute, man, this shit's not real, you know? Well, the UFC is starting to have a lot of stuff leaning toward that. And I hate to say that. I think the fights are real. But a lot of the narratives and the behind the scenes things going on and things being presented to us by the people in the UFC and obviously some of the commentators, it's just not real. And like Colby Covington, for example, his whole persona is not real, right? It's just an act. He was going to get kicked out of the UFC for not being an exciting fighter, not moving the needle. And then all of a sudden he takes on this persona and calls Brazil a bunch of animals while in Brazil, and then people are paying attention to him. So in a weird way, it's a necessary thing. I think that most fighters are still genuine and hanging on to it, but they're not that exciting unless you have like real elite fighters like Khabib. You know, Khabib, he learned a little bit that he needs to talk more and be more engaging. But Khabib, he showed he was an exciting fighter just because he was so good, you know? And that brings me to another thing. You know, this whole thing we're seeing with Dana White, like talking about why he didn't put the belt on Francis and stuff like that. And, you know, I did a couple other videos. I think I did one other video mentioning, you know, going into why he likely didn't do that. And I do believe that he got a little emotional. This video footage that he put out with Laura Sanko saying, you know, let me address something. I don't know if anybody's asked this, but I know it's the question everybody wants to know. Why wasn't I there to put the belt on Ngannou? Why wasn't I at the post-fight conference? He's talking about he had some stuff to do. And he just left it at that. I had some things to do backstage. And he didn't go into any more than that. It's likely he's covering because he's seeing everybody going,
Dana White's being a little bitch.
You know, stuff like that. And he's trying to circumvent that. First off, little disclaimer here. I'm not in either camp on that. I love Dana White in the UFC, and I love Francis Ngannou and his team and all the fighters and stuff like that. I love it all. So I'm not in either camp. I'm looking at this from the outside, looking in with an honest eye. So I praise Dana White all the time. I think he's the most savage CEO in America, other than maybe like Elon Musk. And no, I'm not comparing Dana to Elon Musk, but if we're talking about running a business starting from zero and becoming what it is now, they're both like two of my favorites for sure. I'll just come out and say it. I think Dana is potentially, sugarcoating what happened. I think that he did get emotional. I mean, he's a human. We all get emotional.
Unless we're sociopaths or psychopaths. And then you still get emotional. It's just usually anger or sadness, you know?
I just think that he got emotional. He saw a bunch of how people were responding to it. Didn't like it. It wasn't a good look. So he's like, I had some stuff to do backstage. I completely respect him, blah, blah, blah. Plus, they have court things going on, We heard. And that was definitely a strategy, by the way. That was definitely a strategy. Sending Francis Ngannou's team letters saying that you're being sued like hours before the fight Yeah, that was a move. That was a chess move right there. The art of war type of move. And if you look behind Dana in every single one of his interviews, you'll see that big the art of war thing. So we know that everything Dana says, you can't take for face value. You know, he's right about a lot of stuff, but everything he says you can't take for face value. And that's the problem. Behind every lie is enough truth to sell it, you know? So Dana definitely is a master at that. This last one, I don't know if he sold it. It doesn't look like he sold it. What I'm seeing on social media, he didn't sell it. So yeah. And now we have Khabib. Entering Khabib in Eagle FC, Eagle Fighting Championship. And they got, who's he got? He's got, I guess his big players he's promoting right now is Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez, which is interesting. I watched the pre-fight conference, which is weird because it's not even until March. And like the other people that they got fighting coming, the fight that's coming up in Eagle FC, nobody knows who they are. Really? Like the commentators were really reaching, trying to find something interesting to say about these guys. They're so unknown that they had to get, you know, Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez and in a fight conference. And another thing I noticed is I saw a little post from Khabib saying, watch out, you know, like sending a warning to the UFC. And well, this was more like a media post, so it could be sensationalized. You guys know how I feel about that. But I saw a media post saying Khabib sends warning to UFC and Bellator, saying that Eagle FC has arrived. Watch out, you know? Khabib is competitive and he has a good relationship with the UFC. So if he's doing stuff like that, he's kind of trying to wage a war against Dana White, which is interesting because they could be passively aggressively or very strategically and gently removing Dana's power as basically the combat sports emperor, you know? And I noticed that even in the face-offs, showed the face-offs of Khabib standing where Dana White normally stands with the two fighters facing off. And Khabib is doing exactly what Dana does. So Dana's the one that kind of formed the way everything that we know, right, that we're familiar with, the UFC and combat sports right now, he paved the way all this should be done. So it's interesting to see one of Dana's children, not really his children, but you know what I mean, right? Like fighters that he raised up in his company, his business children, mimicking what he's doing and now posing a bit of a threat. Like, here we come, we're taking over, that kind of thing. If you think about it in history, emperors and kings and stuff like that, a lot of times they were overthrown by their sons, literally killed. Like, have you heard the story of the Taj Mahal? The Taj Mahal, the big epic marble white structure in Agra, India. That was from an emperor named Shah Jahan, and he was like, from what I've read, a very kind person. He was one of the most beloved emperors, and he had two sons. His firstborn, I think his name was Dara or something like that, and Dara was like kind of like his dad, but he was like into art and mysticism and stuff like that. Now he had another son, and you know that the empire is supposed to go to the firstborn. But he had another son, his secondborn, Aurangzeb, and he was like very religious and strict and militant. And he had his brother's head chopped off and jailed his father, Shah Jahan, when he got old enough. Took over the empire, jailed his father, and then had the head of his father's firstborn, his older brother, sent to his father and specifically told him to deliver the head in a box before Shah Jahan had his dinner. So he'd have like a hungry stomach and then see that, and then it would just like devastate him even worse. So that is like the art of war being implemented hardcore right there. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because it looks like it could be what's happening now. You have Triller, you have Jake Paul, you have Khabib doing fight promotions. These are both younger generations challenging and strategically taking over what Dana has built. Now, Dana's done a good job, but he can't do it forever. So we do need another generation to step up. But we are living in times right now where we're seeing all this happen. So there's lots of business war going on right now. There's a huge business war happening, and we're watching it. But if you don't have the insight or the foresight to look behind the curtain or imagine what's going on behind the curtain, all you see is what they're showing us. You know, all we're seeing is, you know, Khabib doing his thing with Eagle FC. We see Jake Paul, he's being a little more vocal about waging war. And I don't know. It's just interesting times. I think we're going to see Dana. Well, I mean, what are we going to see? I don't have any stake in what I think is going to happen yet because the war is going on now. Dana's not going to go down without a fight. You know, he'll say and do anything to protect his baby, the UFC. And, you know, when it comes to business and the art of war in business, Dana is emperor. And he's been for a very long time. So it's going to take some badass strategy against Dana, but you got a lot of, when you have that much money and you have that much at stake going into something like a new business, a fight promotion where you have a very clear vision of what you want to do, you're willing to put lots of time, energy, and money behind that, and you can hire smart strategists to help you. It's not just all on Dana's shoulders. It's not just all on Khabib's shoulders. It's not all just on Jake Paul's shoulders. They have teams strategizing with them, and we don't get to hear their plan. All we get is what they show us. And what they show us is a lot of illusion, you know? I don't know what kind of perspective you have of Khabib. I don't know what kind of perspective you have of Dana, and I don't know what kind of perspective you have of Jake Paul. But I will tell you, all three of them would slit each other's throats to win. Maybe not Khabib. Khabib's the only one I question because he has proved that he has a lot of integrity. But when there's that much at stake, I mean, it's still the art of war, you know? And we know that he's familiar with it. We know his dad was probably familiar with it. So whether Khabib has read The Art of War or not, I know his dad has, and his dad has taught him in probably the most palatable way how to implement the art of war technique in business and in fighting. So it's in there. It's ingrained in his mind. So all three of them would probably slit each other. I know Dana and Jake Paul would slit each other's throats to win, no problem. And when I say slit each other's throats, I'm talking metaphorically. They're not going to physically go slit each other's throats. because that's illegal. And then you would lose your business, and they know that. But if they could get away with it, maybe, probably. If it was like the old days, like you slit the king's throat and you're the son of the king, you're the new emperor, you know? So anyway, I just wanted to point out like some things that I'm noticing is going on in the combat sports world. There is a war going on, and it's interesting to watch. So I thought I might point it out so you guys could observe it as well. Also, on a side note, I noticed that other commentators who I watch all the time and have inspired me to even get started in the first place are starting to notice my videos and starting to use some of my ideas as a jumping point. And that's pretty cool. So welcome to the channel, guys. We're going to keep going hard. And if you like the content, subscribe. Comment down below, tell me your thoughts, throw me some likes, and ring that freaking bell. Talk to you guys next time.